In the golden age of American performance, the 1960s, the roads of America thundered with names that became legends. The Ford Mustang, Pontiac GTO, Chevrolet Chevelle SS, Dodge Charger, icons built not just for speed, but for style, sound, and status. These were the kings of the muscle car era. With high-displacement V8s, flashy chrome bumpers, and an attitude that could be heard a block away, they became symbols of youth, rebellion, and power. But while the spotlight bathed those machines in glory, a quieter revolution was unfolding in the shadows. One that didn't scream down the quarter mile but whispered in corners. A car that didn't win fans with brute force, but with balance, poise, and engineering excellence. That car was the Chevrolet Corvair. Launched in 1960, the Corvair was General Motors' most radical departure from American automotive norms. Unlike anything GM had built before or since, the Corvair featured a rear-mounted, air-cooled flat-six engine. It was more Porsche 356 than Pontiac Bonneville. A unibody structure instead of body-on-frame. Independent suspension all around. A design that looked like it belonged in Europe, not Detroit. In a sea of front-engine, rear-drive iron giants, the Corvair was a curveball. It was GM's response to the growing popularity of imported compact cars, and it offered something no other domestic car did. A driving experience focused on precision, not just power. But revolutions rarely go unchallenged. The Corvair's engineering, especially its early swing-axle rear suspension, was unfamiliar to American drivers, many of whom were used to massive understeering barges. Misuse, poor maintenance, and lack of understanding could make the car twitchy at the limit. And then came Ralph Nader. In 1965, the young attorney and consumer advocate published a book that would change the course of American car history. Unsafe at Any Speed, a scathing critique of the auto industry's approach to safety. And in its opening salvo, Nader took direct aim at the Corvair. He argued that the car's handling dynamics were inherently dangerous, citing rollover risks and rear-end instability. The media ran with it. The public panicked. Despite internal GM tests showing the Corvair to be as safe as its peers, and even safer once 1965 suspension updates were introduced, the damage was done. Sales tanked. Public trust evaporated. And just like that, GM's great engineering experiment became a cautionary tale. But not everyone turned away. In Pennsylvania, a Chevrolet dealer's son and road racer named Don Yenko saw something very different in the Corvair. To him, it wasn't a death trap. It was a diamond in the rough. A lightweight, rear-engine platform with nearly 50-50 weight distribution. It had the makings of a sports car, not a safety scandal. Don Yenko wasn't your typical car dealer. He was a pilot, a racer, and a performance visionary. His name would later become synonymous with high-horsepower Camaros, Novas, and Chevelles. But before any of that, Yenko found his muse in the Corvair. He had raced Corvairs in the early 60s, knew their limits, and understood their strengths. And in 1966, just as the car's reputation was hitting rock bottom, he made a bold move. He would turn the Corvair into a legitimate race car, and he would do it under his own name. Thus was born the Yenko Stinger. It wasn't a marketing gimmick, it wasn't a sticker package, it was a genuine transformation. Yenko ordered 100 Corvair Corsas directly from Chevrolet. These were no base models. They came equipped with the 140 horsepower quad carburetor engine and heavy-duty suspension options. From there, each car was stripped down and rebuilt at his shop in Canonsburg, Pennsylvania. The modifications were extensive. Bodywork included fiberglass rear spoilers, quick-release racing gas caps, and bold American racing-style livery, white with blue stripes. Interiors were stripped for weight savings, fitted with full instrumentation, roll bars, and racing harnesses. Quick ratio steering boxes were installed for better responsiveness. But the heart of the Stinger was under the rear deck lid. Yenko offered the Stinger in 4 performance stages. Stage 1, mild tune-up, around 160 horsepower. Stage 2, upgraded cam and carbs, around 180 horsepower. Stage 3, more aggressive internals, 200 plus horsepower. Stage 4, fully built race engine, 240 horsepower. This was a naturally aspirated, air-cooled flat 6, tuned by hand, with modified heads, ported intakes, rejetted carburetors, and performance exhaust. And while 240 horsepower may not sound like much today, in a car that weighed under 2,400 pounds, It was staggering. The power-to-weight ratio rivaled that of a Porsche 911 of the same era. But it wasn't just about raw speed. The Stinger was made for curves. Thanks to its rear-engine layout, low center of gravity, and independent suspension, it danced through corners. It was nimble, predictable, and precise, a rare quality in American cars of the time. Yenko knew that if the Stinger was going to be taken seriously, it had to prove itself on the racetrack. So he worked closely with the Sports Car Club of America, SCCA, to homologate the car for B production class racing. It wasn't easy, the rules were strict, and the Corvair had baggage, but Yenko persisted, filing paperwork, meeting requirements, and building the required number of cars. And then it raced, and won. The same Corvair that had been crucified in the media was now blowing past Mustangs, Triumphs, and even Porsches on road courses across America. Privateers lined up to buy them. Some were weekend warriors, others were daily drivers with numbers taped on the doors. But they all shared a common trait. They handled beautifully. In total, only 100 Yenko Stingers were built in 1966 to meet homologation rules. A handful more followed in later years, some built by Yenko, others modified in the spirit of the original. But the 1966 cars, complete with YS serial numbers, remain the purest expression of Yenko's vision. And what a vision it was. In an era dominated by quarter-mile times and big block bravado, Yenko built a car that succeeded by being different. The Stinger wasn't loud and brutal. It was refined and agile. It showed that American cars didn't have to follow the same formula to be successful. That performance could come from the rear wheels without a V8. That a car labeled Unsafe could dominate a road course with grace. But the Yenko Stinger was never destined to be a mass-market success. It was too specialized, too misunderstood, too far ahead of its time. And yet, in enthusiast circles, it became an underground legend. It was the car that challenged the narrative, the car that defied expectations, the car that refused to be forgotten. Even today, the Stinger holds a special place in the hearts of collectors and racers. Finding one is rare, restoring one is even rarer. But those who do it with reverence, because they know the story. They know what it meant. They know that Don Yenko didn't just build fast cars. He built stories. He took risks. He bet on the underdog. And in doing so, he gave the Corvair a second life. A better one. The Yenko Stinger isn't just important because it was fast. It's important because it represents belief. Belief in engineering, in vision, in the power of redemption. It teaches us that not all legends wear capes. Some wear stripes and fiberglass spoilers. Some roar down a straightaway. Others whisper through an apex. And maybe that's the most American thing of all. Not just to build fast cars, but to give second chances. To see potential where others see flaws. To find brilliance in the margins. In a world obsessed with power figures and lap times, the Yenko Stinger asks a different question. What if greatness isn't always about being the loudest or the biggest? What if it's about doing something no one else dared to try, and doing it well? That's why, nearly 6 decades later, the Yenko Stinger still matters. It's more than a car. It's a statement. A giant killer born from rejection. A masterpiece shaped by courage. And a legend forged in the corners of a forgotten chapter in American automotive history.